Hey everybody, it's Ezra again, and I just need to tell everybody one thing. This will be my year. I am going to end this year a different person than the way I started. I am going to end this year a more successful person than the way I started it. But before we get into my goals for this year and stuff, I just want to give y'all like a quick run through of the year prior since that'll be key to understanding why I think this is gonna be my year. So January started, and I was riding high off my Lego Marvel Superheroes video. It was done in the style of Isazar's Lego Batman videos. I was planning on making it like a whole series in that vein, with like its own, Bruce and Robert esque lore behind it. But as we all know, it never got that far. It was my first video under the Ezra name to reach double digits, and I felt like I, edited it down pretty well. You know, I did some like pretty good, improvised commentary on that video. Of course, I was going to, make that follow up within a few months. Who would throw this opportunity away? I would, apparently. I was already, kind of procrastinating on making a follow up because, college and other stuff like that. Uh, but, like, you know what happens when I'm like, okay, I am actually going to work on this video now? Y'all know what just ends up happening? Yeah, so the events around the inauguration just it put a bit of a damper on things. In the recording process, I just felt really miserable and just burnt out because of all the doom scrolling I was doing. Like, during the recording, I felt like I needed to just come up with like witty, quote unquote, comedic political commentary things because that was what I felt like I just needed to do, you know, in the video about the kids game. I remember that like during the recording session, I was just like standing outside the fourth level of the game, which it takes place on the raft, the big prison with all the supervillains, and like I was waiting out there just so I could like come up with witty jokes about the prison industrial complex or whatever. That video like unironically would have sucked and like completely tanked me, so I'm glad I didn't like go through and like finish editing it. February was pretty alright, I guess. That was when I completed an old thing that I tried to do all the way back in September 2024. That was the Lego Indiana Jones 2 Wheel Challenge. If you've seen this CJ Yaw video, it was pretty much that, but adapted to LIJ2. I also vaguely knew of the LIJ2 speedrun tech from this BD1P video, so I basically tried to square block and round a hole a ton of it, and I took way longer than I needed to as a result. It was also the debut of Graham, a bee statue that I bought at a random garden shop that was supposed to be my channel mascot. And then I just never got around to uploading any content involving him, so he just fell by the wayside. Anyways, in March, something really big happens. I start modding the Lego games for real. I actually got into it around like the start of 2024, but I did not make myself a known presence in the community until around March 2025, because that was when I actually had mods that were ready for upload. I made free showcase videos for the mods I upload back then. The first of those is unlisted because A, it contains music, which, while not a major copyright risk, could be a problem in the future. And B, it was for a mod that I'm not a super big fan of anymore. The other two showcase videos were briefly unlisted because, to quote the me of the past, While they were popular relative to the other videos, I don't consider them part of my content. Uh, unquote. Honestly, it was a really stupid move, and I am glad I made them public again. It is way easier to get the audience from modding into my other stuff this way. It also brought along my first attempts at speedrunning, more specifically, LEGO Indy 2 100%. I was using Wii Super's run as a basis because that was the only one I knew of at the time, and I barely knew speedrunning tech aside from what was covered in the aforementioned BD1P video. I also had no idea how high frame rate tech existed. I thought I could just, do the launches without having to get like an absurd amount of frames first. So, one of the reasons why I failed in this regard is because I was pretty much a noob trying to do a hundo, which is like a beginning skier taking on a black diamond course. Uh, Main reason I quit was because I kept losing runs to the dummy run drop in warp just not working, which by the way is still a problem and has led to me just switching dummy run and Doomtown House 2 around in my rundo route so I can do dummy run the normal way later on. I also learned what frame dependent tricks, what this whole series is named after were, and I could not get high enough frames to do them. That kind of just threw me off LEGO speedrunning until around November. April brought not only my last LEGO Indy 2 100% stream, but also my first real attempt at doing the Coda 1 video. I filmed every segment of it, and I only ended up abandoning it during like the editing process because I got distracted while trying to make visuals for the characters, which is also why the completed version doesn't have visuals for the characters. I'm sorry about that. I just wanted it done as soon as possible, okay? By the way, all raw footage from like everything I'm talking about that wasn't like streamed on YouTube, it's almost certainly gone because I regularly had to just take out footage from my videos folder so I could like get more storage for more footage. It's less of a problem now that my recordings are redirected to a folder on like my 2 terabyte hard drive. In May, something big happened. I finally started a series that had most of its parts completed and released in a somewhat consistent upload rate. Really big by my standards. That series was my totally normal LEGO Star Wars free playthrough where I basically played through a version of the game with mod characters. Some of them were just unused characters in the game files, while I created some of them myself. Out of all the gameplay oriented stuff I was doing, it was probably the best. The reason why I never got around to finishing it was because I kept procrastinating due to how long the post game is. There's like the free play, there's unlocking all the extras, there's all of the ground battles you have to do. It's just a lot. And B, when I did record some footage of the last episode, for some reason my old video editor would just not load it. In June, I did my first try at the LEGO Star Wars 1 100% in one sitting challenge. It failed because I A, didn't know how bad the stud grind would get, and B, I was doing the Dolphin retro achievements, which has an achievement where I can't collect studs in negotiations. Now that would definitely be easy for a speedrunner, since not collecting studs makes the unskippable dash screen on the first level go by faster. For someone who wasn't experienced in this type of thing, it was terrible, man. That first try had to be edited down because I used BD1P's History of Minikits video and Wii Super's TCS Glitch Iceberg video while doing the A New Hope stud grind. I wasn't sure if they'd be fine with me using their videos on my stream without permission, so I just edited the whole thing out to be safe. I tried again later on in August, and it worked surprisingly enough. And the highlights video became my first one to reach double digits in a while, despite the fact that I don't really consider it that great since there wasn't, a ton of stuff that's from the stream itself that was good. It was mostly just dead silence with little commentary. I did the same for LEGO Star Wars 2, but it failed because the Dolphin retro achievements for those were also pretty brutal. I had to do a ton of deathless runs, which, again, not experienced enough to do those, was very stressful. I quit halfway for doing Rescue the Princess because of just how bad Rescue the Princess is for a deathless run. I might try again with like the PCX2 retro achievements someday, although I'm pretty sure those also have the deathless run stuff, so not sure. In between August and late November, nothing really came. I was pretty much on a back-to-back on of online college terms that just kept kicking my ass and making me less motivated to like do content for real for real. This was another example of me like just taking a long ass time to release a proper follow-up to a successful video of mine, as the aforementioned edited down version of the LEGO Star Wars 100% one sitting video got to around 3 views. I released 3 videos around that time: Super Mod Minecraft and 2 commentary videos. They were basically weird experiments in content that I put out because I wasn't really sure what I really wanted to do going forward. Super Mod Minecraft was supposed to be like a series of videos where I'd go across stuff, but I downloaded Lunar Client for the first time, didn't know how to use it, and I ended up loading the modded world into Lunar Client. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that it probably messed with the mod stuff in the world, since Lunar Client is infamously very unfriendly towards mods. The commentary videos were pretty much an earlier version of what would become this series, although with me just playing random games instead of speedrunning. I think like the first one had Super Metroid map rando in the background, and the second one had a Lego Marvel Avengers gameplay in the background. Uh, I do want to remake both of them at one point for the series because like those are actually really interesting topics I really love to cover, but like they just did not click well in the first version. By the way, I just wanted to really show my appreciation for everyone who liked the first episode of the series. It really means a lot to me. When I was uploading it, I was just like constantly doubting myself because I didn't know if it'd be like a good first episode for what's supposed to be like a really big series. While I was glad to finally be able to talk about it, I also felt like I was rushing things a bit because like I felt like you needed to get to know me before I started like talking about like Coda 1 and stuff. Realistically, this should have probably been, the debut FDT, but the Coda 1 stuff was already mostly done by that point, so I just ended up retrofitting it. I was genuinely expecting to get barely any views of it, but I got way more than I expected. I mean, they were low expectations, but hey, 50 views and 3 likes within the first 2 weeks is pretty good for a new series. Hopefully I can keep this going consistently and get some of that exponential success. Now that I've talked about all that, I now want to talk about the biggest thing to happen to me in 2025. Execute Order 66. I think that the process that went into making it deserves a video of its own because just how much effort I ended up putting into it. I'm glad I was able to make something of the term break that had gone on from, November to December. Not that I had to do stuff during that time, considering it was mostly spent relaxing after, the aforementioned terms that kicked my ass, but still, really good. I think that happening just single handedly got me back into the game. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's at like 2.5k views right now, which is like really, really awesome. I'm glad it attracted a ton of viewers to the channel. Fun fact: Frame Dependent Tales was supposed to be debuted around the time Execute Order 66 dropped. It wasn't called Frame Dependent Tales yet, but I was planning on doing the Coda 1 video there. It got delayed because it was the holiday season and things were just generally getting super hectic. Plus, I was more focused on getting the sub out on restricted 80%. That deserves its own video because, oh my god, was it a hard grind. I would cover getting back into Lego Indy 2 speedrunning here, but I want to save it for later on down the line. I think I just want to go further along in this journey before I just try and reflect on it. So that's pretty much everything that happened in 2025. Now I want to cover my New Year's resolutions for the channel. I pretty much have 4 goals for 2026. The first of them is to have a 26 episode Frame Dependent Tales season. This will require me to consistently hit the bi-weekly schedule, which could be difficult considering depending on how stressful college gets. I think I'll probably be able to hitch it off, especially since I have a lot of stuff that I can write about for these videos, and bi-weekly for like these videos isn't too demanding of a schedule. The second is to do a Lego Indy 2 restricted hundo run, or a rundo. I am like sort of just making notes for myself. I know the basic route, I'm just trying to get the details down before I start practicing the segments. My deadline is that I have to do a completed run by the end of March, for something that I'll elaborate on when the time comes. The third is to get into one of the other LEGO Speed games. What I'm currently thinking about is maybe a LEGO Lord of the Rings or LEGO Star Wars Free. I'm thinking Lord of the Rings because that has an official restricted 80% category, and I'm thinking of LEGO Star Wars Free because I'll probably be able to approach the 1P2C that initially turned me away from that game. Either way, if I'm getting into those games, I at least want to get a top 10 time in rating percent or any of the free story categories in LEGO Star Wars Free. The fourth and final one is basically just to try and be consistent with the channel. I think the reason why 2025 was such a weird year for me was that I had no idea what I wanted to do with the channel. Now that I know the type of stuff that I want to do and how to do it, I think I will be more able to make videos that both get a wide audience and make me feel satisfied with what I'm doing. Aside from the channel, I have 3 major things that I want to do this year. The first is that I want to finally get my driver's license because that opens up a lot for me. I have always been restricted to my neighborhood, which is kind of out of the way from anything major, so getting to drive on my own would be so great for me. Of course, I'd also have to worry about, gas prices and everything else that comes with being able to drive, but that is a small price to pay for not being stuck at home all the time and relying on parents to get to work and stuff. I hope that at some point before this year ends, I upload FDT about how I finally got my driver's license, and it gets a more billion views, 5011 likes, and a Graham's number of comments congratulating me for my achievement. The second is that I just want to do more in-person socializing. Ever since I graduated high school, I very rarely talk to people in a non-work or a non-transactional manner, even with people I know. I think the last time I ever talked to a person I knew from high school was like at the state fair back in like October last year, which that is deserving of its own FDT because it was like a pretty cool day for me. I sort of want to start opening up and getting more involved in the community around me since having people I can trust around family is something I'm definitely going to need in the future. The third is that I want to start volunteering somewhere. Either at like the Humane Society or a nearby food bank soup kitchen thing. I want to talk more in detail about this at some point in the future, but I've had a really hard time with doom scrolling, just occupying my time and sapping my motivation to do stuff. I think the chance to volunteer somewhere and actually help my community would be really good for this, since it helps me with my second goal and actually allows me to help people instead of spending all my time reading stupid takes and bad news online. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything. Before I finish the video, I should say that I got involved in my first speedrunning showcase 2 days ago as of release. I did LEGO Indie 2 restricted 80% for the Wild Ride Raid Train event, which it went pretty alright. All I'm saying about it is that I actually want to lock in and start running 80% again, specifically because of that run's really, really bad middle. I'll probably use it as footage for a video in the future, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, please subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. I also suggest liking and commenting if there was anything in this video that caught your interest in particular. Keep yourself certified, notified, and I will be seeing you soon.